is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have an amazing guest all the way in California. He is a best-selling author of Aiming High. He's a public speaker and entrepreneur, featured on CNN, ESPN, US Today, and more. Guys, please help me welcome the CEO of Prince Marketing Group, Darren Prince. What's up, brother?
Hey, man. Thanks for the intro.
You're welcome, man. How you been?
All good. We're keeping busy. Been very blessed to, create the best version of myself personally and professionally during this pandemic. So I got nothing to complain about.
All right, Darren. So just quick question, because I know we kind of spoke about this off the podcast. You kind of mentioned to me how you left New Jersey and you moved over to California, and you said that it was a transition you had to make for yourself. What does that mean, and what was that self-transformation that you had to go through, and what was that like moving over?
Early on in recovery, I struggled with change, but as I started to get a bigger, more solid foundation in recovery, I realized that change is good and you have to embrace it and know that, there's really no such things as endings. There are only beginnings. And for me personally, in the recovery world, on this 5-6 mile strip out here is, as connected as any part of the country, and just business wise, so many of my celebrities are within 10 to 15 minutes from me. And I took a leap of faith with my then fiance, and it's the best decision I ever made.
Awesome.
Aside from getting sober.
Yeah, there you go. And
you
you mentioned your recovery, and I happened to look at your Instagram again right before we hopped on here, and I'm a huge Mets fan, and I saw your thing that you posted about talking to Darryl Strawberry, who if anyone's a Mets fan knows, one of the most iconic Mets players from the 80s, and he also struggled with recovery. By what I've been able to read, I wasn't alive back then, but what I've been able to read about his history, and I kind of want to get your take. Like, what did it look like? What did it really mean for you to be able to get sober, and what were the ways in which your life really changed for the better after you were able to get sober?
I think the big misconception about getting sober is we don't really get addicted to drugs and the substances and mood-altering chemicals. We get addicted to escape. We get addicted to not having to deal with life and not having to feel anything. So just putting the substances down, really just 1%. The rest is, the reason why we have 12 steps, working the steps, being of service, finding a higher power of your understanding, whatever it might be, whoever it might be. And I think once I started doing that work, and I got to the root cause of the issues without blaming anybody, like Darren, as the one that himself for whatever reason it might have been. I think that's when hope and recovery began. I was given the gift of desperation, and slowly but surely the power of choice came back into my life. And once I became a surface and started becoming whole within myself and getting rid of all that crap, that's when the explosive blessings started happening. But I often say when I speak, it just because we get sober doesn't mean life doesn't happen to you. Like always.
Right.
Our perspective and perception changes and how we deal with things, and that's the beautiful part of that spirituality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is a constant battle, right? I have a couple clients and some former clients of mine that have also gone through this 12-step program, and something they always have said to me is that regardless of the day, they always have to remind themselves about why they are sober, right? Why they're doing the things that they're doing, and I think not that I wish anyone would have to go through the process of getting sober, right, and all of the kind of turmoil that leads you up to wanting to get sober in the first place. But I think maybe from what I've learned from the few clients that I have that have gone through AA and gone through the 12-step program was, they are able to then use that understanding of it's a constant battle and you always have to work at it in other areas of their life, right? So was that a big shift that you were able to see too with your career and with your family and with your friends where, okay, I'm sober and I'm working on myself, but I also have to understand relationships are a process and I have to constantly be working at them. Business is a process and I have to constantly be working on that. So how did that look for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, my sponsor used to tell me, be careful about switching seats in the Titanic because, I was divorced in recovery and, a lot of different women and going to casinos and really just still showing that behavior early on that, I might have been chemically sober, but spiritually and emotionally was my own way acting out. And, I think that's always there. I think anybody that's in recovery understands we're feel-good junkies, and whatever can give us that instant gratification. Now I just use it for more positive situations like speaking, helping others. Business, thank God, is about the best we've ever had in 26 years. And, just being a kind, giving, generous person. I think that's what really, when I do esteemable acts, that's how I've truly built my own self-esteem. And those are things that I never would have thought about. I'd like to believe when people tell you a kind person, but when you're in the midst of youth, you're the only priority in your life. Anyway, look but to be able to, change these certain behavioral patterns, to me is just incredible, because that's really what it's about. It's not just putting down the substances. You want to be better for yourself first, so you can be able to help other people in or outside of recovery, and constantly stay vigilant. 12 and a half years means nothing to me at the moment or right now. If I was in a 12-step meeting, there's times somebody counting days can give me more than somebody with 40 years. And nobody's better than anybody else. We're on the same playing field once you cross over and grab onto this seat for find wild dreams. And, it's a work in progress every day. I'm definitely the best place I've ever been in my life, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like I said, there's days it could be a business issue, it could be a personal problem where, if I wind up falling off that beam, it's only for a short period of time. I know exactly how to get myself back on.
Well, it's truly amazing to hear, your personal experience and how you've gone through that, how you continue to go through that. And I want to ask you a question, because I know during these times that we're in now, it's easy to get trapped into these bad habits and decision makings and, allowing yourself to get consumed into that. What are some of the tools that you use for yourself and some of the recommendations you would give to other people who have been sober and are going as well through the sobering process of getting out of their alcohol issues during a time like this, where it's easy to just get that access and fall into that depression or that state of escape when we're living in a chaotic moment?
I think I speak about this often, that, there's really no excuse. I hear about people relapsing at that time. I hear about people making excuses and they don't want to get a better life and they keep drowning their sorrows or abusing themselves with substances and chemicals. The reality is you got Zoom. You've got calls that you can jump on. There are networks of people, spiritual all over the world, not just the country, are more than willing to talk to you and get you through it. And I just think, I always say that we're not responsible for our thoughts, but we are responsible for how we want to think the thoughts. And it's up to us to get out of our own way. Somebody struggling, whether they're in recovery or not yet there, really putting your focus on somebody else, trying to help somebody. I work out 6 days a week. We're all shut down in California. I've got 2 big balconies here in my penthouse, and I've got gym equipment on one side, for a foam roller. I don't care. I just make sure, I get that 45 minutes in, start the day. Just get this natural dopamine going, those endorphins. Aside from the crazy age in life, life happens. And I've got a lot of people in my world that are having problems financially, depression, stress-wise. And I know if I don't put Darren Prince in recovery first, I'm not going to be good to anyone.
Well, I definitely got to say that there's a truth to the saying that there is no perfect time. And I'm a huge believer in that, and that's something I work with my own clients is there is no perfect time to start. There is no perfect time to do anything. You just got to do it. If you want it, you got to do it. Because in life, COVID being one of the things, family emergencies, birthday parties, events, family death, this person got injured, this one got sick. There's shit going on all the time throughout our day, throughout our lives, and in everybody's lives. So if you're just waiting for that perfect moment to start, then when are you going to start? Because if we have stuff going on all the time, then you'll never start. And that's one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people have trouble is they think that there is a perfect moment when in reality there isn't. You just got to start doing it now. and you got to start putting in the work, the action, and you got to just start wanting it. Because if you do, that's how you got to go after it. With that being said, now on the other side of things, more on the business side, how did that look for you when you started your own business? What made you want to dive into it, stick to it, get through it, understanding that business is not the easiest thing for anybody to start up and actually succeed in? Obviously, it shows that you have succeeded tremendously. And how was that process, and how did that look like, and what made you want to stick to it, understanding that you were going to encounter obstacles, and understanding that, you got to just go for it because there is no perfect time?
Well, I was a young entrepreneur at 14. I started a baseball card company that grew into a multi-million-dollar business by the time I was 19. I sold that company. I worked in celebrity collectibles and autograph signings. I sold that company at 25, and I started Prince Marketing Group.
Don't get me started with the collectibles.
Oh my God, no! I'll never hear the fucking end of it. You don't understand. I'll never hear the fucking end of it if you.
And the funny thing is, guys, I'm back into my company was Prince of Cards, and a lot of people tell me I was one of the OGs back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I was there for the crazy boom and all this stuff happened, and now I'm back in it, but I'm back in it as an investor. And so we gotta chat.
We gotta chat afterwards.
I couldn't tell you how many of these miniature fucking signed football helmets we have in here.
Oh my God,
over 10, and he's like,
if I could walk you around. Hold on, this is one of my pride and joys. I'm a diehard Charger fan, I need to say, but this is a team signed Super Bowl helmet from 1994.
That's
legendary.
Junior Sale passed away.
Rest in peace, man.
So I have so much stuff from my clients, and Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Muhammad Ali, Razor Red clients, Mike Tyson. I've got all boxing gloves over there. Awesome. I never really got into collectibles for anything, but I think it's just a great conversation piece. But the cards right now I've been crazy with. So when I started, back to your question, when I started the agency, I think. I always have to be careful when I say this to kids that definitely the opiate addiction helped. This is really a networking machine, whether it was Kobe Bryant at an event or whoever. I was able to.
You didn't give a fuck. You had no nerve.
I don't know when it turned on me. At one point, it was living to use turned out to use. 7 years into that ride that I thought was the ride of a lifetime, I was working in hell, and now those opiates became my kryptonite. And until I found recovery on July 2nd, 2008. And then, now I'm sober, dealing in this big time world with some of the most revered icons of all time. And I have to figure out how to deal with issues sober and not run to a bottle, snort up, a handful of oxys or Percocet. Just deal with life. And I think gradually anybody that does make that life-changing decision to get sober, you actually get acclimated to your brain gets reprogrammed. Physiologically, you start feeling different. I think each and every time you get through a situation that might be tough at your job, your career, a tragedy, little by little, your spiritual core is getting that much stronger. And that's just how it started happening for me.
No, off the bat, I gotta say that the fact you sharing that, I think it's first of all, that transparency is amazing, and I know a lot of people are gonna be able to digest this and realize as well that people see entrepreneurs like yourselves and like other successful individuals, and they might say, they have it the best. They have it made. They don't go through anything. They have everything want. And it's not true. It's not true. And you sharing your story, for example, look, sharing what you've gone through, sharing these transformations, finding yourself, going through these issues, and now also too shifting over, being sober, having to do all these things at a high level and figure out these problems versus when you were doing this. So you can network like crazy, have more of that speed, and understanding that, it's not the healthiest thing long term, and you shouldn't be doing it. And it's not going to make you a high performer at the end of your life or your career. And I think a lot of people will only see what they see in front, which is posted on social media, the magazines, TV, and then that's what they're like, okay, well, they have it best. And when you actually hear these stories on podcasts, and when you hear information that successful entrepreneurs are telling you, and we've heard many, and it's incredible, just sit back and let that soak in and make you realize that, these celebs, these entrepreneurs, these successful individuals, they go through a lot of stuff, even more than some people that are just, I don't want to say regular individuals, but you're considered your regular individual, go through, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, and they just have this one way of looking at celebs and entrepreneurs, not understanding the other side of it.
Yeah, no, exactly, 100%. Whether like have money or success or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've got plenty of life challenges and problems. And, don't get me wrong. I like to say money buys temporary happiness, but it doesn't buy permanent happiness. Not at all, far from it, because, truly I thought it was my height. I didn't want to live anymore. My life insurance, my goal set up, and none of that meant anything. I was telling one of my good friends the other day, and I'm in such a great place that if I was to lose everything tomorrow, success, all this stuff, the crazy thing is I know I'd be okay. Because with recovery and spirituality, I know it would be time to turn the page. I could look back and say, what an amazing life I've had for 26 years. But the heartbreaking part would be I wouldn't have my staff of 10 agents and assistants to take care of my family. But other than that, putting that aside, when you truly find yourself on the inside and you know who you are, that you finally arrived on your mission in life, everything else is a bonus.
Yeah, no, it truly is. I'm curious, how did you get your start as a sport agent? Like, what was your entry into that industry?
When I had the sports and celebrity memorabilia company, Lenore was Muhammad Ali's agent. Okay. And I met him through a mutual friend. We did our first autograph signing with Muhammad back in 1994. And we started booking a lot of other athletes and celebrity autograph signings. I did that for a few years. Met Matt Johnson through the same individual, him and his agent, Lon Rosen, and started forming relationships with them. With these guys, hotel rooms for hours at a time as you're signing stuff. You're taking them to conventions, you're in the limousine, you're on a plane with them, and developing a real family type of vibe and trust. And when I started the agency, I got in a lot of trouble. Too much about my book, Aiming High, with the FBI for selling fraudulent photographs. I didn't realize we're fraudulent. And I looked at that as, at that time, maybe it's time to really go to the next chapter. And I always wanted to be an agent. And my dad, may he rest in peace, told me on a fly fishing trip in Alaska, I was like, I think I need to go to law school. He's like, law school? You need to go to law school. Look at the people that you know, because life is about who you know, not what you know. You don't need law school. Go to Magic or Muhammad, or speak to any one of these kings that love you and respect you, and tell them what you want to do. And he talked to Magic 94, 95, and he agreed my first client for Prince Marketing Group.
Wow. Wow, what an incredible first client that is. Yeah. It's got to feel you got to feel and amazing to lock in.
The list after that was incredible. It was Joe Frazier, Pamela Anderson, Chevy Chase, Hogan, Dennis Rodman, Carmen Electra, and it's a family vibe now. I mean, I think majority of the phone calls I have with any of my clients are about life. Charlie Senior and I spoke yesterday for 30 minutes, and he's doing great. And just about life, a little bit about business, and that to me is what's so special. I'm able to have that bond with them, and for them to really, really respect my mission, as being a global recovery advocate, so much more so than I bring to the table in business, because they're all somehow impacted by this.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, now that celebrity lifestyle, right, kind of drives that type of action, so it's got to be great that they have someone to kind of reference that's gone through a similar thing that they might be going through at any time. And
and when they have friends that are suffering, some of them never had a problem like I did, and they ask me, hey, what would you do? And I tell them it's like they're a family friend or somebody that contacted me on Instagram or anywhere saying we've got a loved one that's suffering. Well, what can we do? Mm-hmm. So it's amazing, because now they come to me for the advice, because they see that I've been able to do one thing perfect. I haven't done everything flawless or perfect, but the one thing I've done for 12 and a half years is not a substance in my life.
Yeah, and what an incredible mix of high performing, individuals and characters that you've had the ability to work with in the past. Any like interesting stories that come off the top of your head that are pretty funny?
I mean, there's so many. I could tell you the clients you can ask me.
With Chevy Chase alone, I'm sure you probably have 1,000 stories. That guy's hilarious.
Chevy's doing great too. I saw him about a month and a half ago. We used to party together back in the mid '90s and go to a pool hall and drink and do our thing. And he was amazing back then, and was super proud.
Any stories down here in Miami in our hometown?
Yeah, probably too many. Probably none that we could tell on this podcast.
I don't think I have enough time to tell you all the Dennis Rodman stories.
Oh my God,
Miami. And I think you guys have probably heard or seen them for yourself because there's a laundry list. But,
were you with him during the whole like wedding dress years when he was
I
with
just
Madonna?
Started working with him when that wedding dress thing happened. It was crazy. We were at a convention the day before in Westchester in White Plains, New York. There was a promoter. Her name was Gloria Roski, and I booked him for an autograph signing. He had another full-time player agent then, and Dennis was like, "Dude, I'm getting married tomorrow. Why don't you come to the wedding?" And it was one of the biggest mistakes I made. I was dating this girl, Elise, and I had a couple autograph signings booked the next day for Muhammad Ali in Chicago. So I had to be there. No internet back then. I just think that there was two people he could have married. It could have been Madonna, or it could have been this woman that he posed semi-naked with in Playboy, Stacey Yarborough, who was an ex-stripper girlfriend. Yeah, whatever. It's no big deal. But the minute I landed in the airport, it was breaking news on every TV. He said, seeing him, and I missed one of the most epic pop culture moments of the '90s. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but we laughed about it after the fact.
Yeah, what an incredible life Dennis Rodman has had.
Yep. And me and my boy Chris Lobo, we've organized every trip to North Korea.
Yeah, wow, really? That's unbelievable. I mean, did you ever think when you started working with Dennis Rodman that he would, like him and Trump would be the only two people that ever crossed into North Korea from America?
I know, right? I know. And Trump and Sarah Sanders, she called him and he was in Singapore right before the summit. My boy Bo was with him, and she thanked him for his service. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, that Dennis Rodman opened up the door for our president to meet with him.
That's insane. Yeah.
I mean, only the time that we live in, like in today's age, could this really be pulled off. It's incredible, but kudos to him for, having, I mean, he has a great relationship, it seems like, with Kim Jong-un, right? So, kudos to him for being the one that says, I have the access, I have a good relationship, let me step in and try to make things work. And it seems like things are a little better.
He had no fear when I told him about the documentary that was happening. I mean, pretty safe. He could just cover my ass, bro, and make sure I'm safe. I'll meet this guy because you never know. Maybe I could introduce him to Obama. And at that time, and it was actually May of 2013, and then he wound up going back 5 times.
Wow, unreal.
That's pretty crazy. Unreal. No, man, like it's just mind-boggling to just see the collective group of individuals that you've worked with and have partaken with as clients, obviously family members, obviously through the time being you build up these relationships with. And there's one thing that you mentioned, going back, how now with your clients you talk more about life. And I think it's amazing because I don't feel that back then that was as big as it is now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like more people are realizing that understanding others, like people's personal lives and what they're going through and what they're doing, and do you need help, is actually helping the performance of when you do have them as a client or in doing business, where I think before it was just always like, all right, you're doing business with me, that's it. You're my client, that's it. Okay, you work for me, that's it. This and this. And it's not like, okay, but dude, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Like, how are things going? Like, I feel like now there's a bigger awareness around that. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would definitely love to, dive into a little bit about that, comparing how that was back in the 90s when you were working with these individuals compared to how it was now, having seen these shifts in yourselves and in many of your clients.
It's a good point. I mean, I think in general, the world is trying to inspire and evolve and to be the best people we can be, especially podcasts like you guys have. And Jay Shetty, Lewis Hauser, my boys, and Gary Vee, and I see what they're doing. And Joel, got a picture right here of me
That's
and Joel
amazing.
holding my book up.
Great.
That's amazing.
And I think these messages are out there for a reason, and people are gravitating toward them. I mean, Thanksgiving, I spoke to Magic for a half hour. 29 minutes was about life and missing my dad and how proud he is of me and what I'm giving to the universe. I spoke to Hulk the night before, Carmen Electra, and it's not name dropping their family to me. But my point is, Ric Flair and Wendy, his wife, Charlie Chevy, Janie Chase, Holly Saunders. Jerry West called me on Thanksgiving. It's just
The logo.
The logo, that's right.
Every single call literally ends with "I love you."
It's amazing.
Either they say it or I say it, and that's special because it just shows it's so much more than the money. Anybody can make any of our clients money. That's not the hard part. But I asked into my father. He always told me about relationship building, and I don't care who it is. If they need me, whatever time it is, I'm the first one to go. And even right now during the pandemic, whatever it takes, because they're my family. We look out for one another,
100%.
and we talk about life with one another. When life gets tough, we deal with it with one another. And as an agent professionally, if they're going through something, well, then I'm in a good, solid, safe place right now for myself, where I'm that bulletproof vest. So if I have to get out there to the media and take the heat on some things, doesn't happen often, but I'm prepared to do it. I mean, got to make sure my office knows, everybody that works for me, that their job is to make my life easy so I can focus on recovery, I can focus on the business, and make sure I look good at all times. Well, my job, celebrity is different that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. No, and
media and everything going on, and so whatever it is, if they need me, I'm there.
Yeah, and when you do spend so much, critical time with these people during these transformative moments in their lives, right? It does become second nature where they become family. We say it all the time with how we feel about our clients, and it's something that we recommend to younger people and every occupation, get close with the people that you're working with, right? Like, don't just call it a day after they leave whatever office or room that you're in, right? Find out more about them. I mean, who do we have on? We had a guy who we had the CEO for Roan Fitness Apparel, and he talked about how he went out for one of his employees, and his employee had like a son who loved trucks, so he went out and bought him like one of those remote control, like drivable trucks, stuff like that. That really makes a huge.
Learn to study your what your clients really love. And if it's like that example, he understood that his client really loved everything that had to do with his children. So if you give somebody, you do something for their children, they're gonna really admire that, because that's what makes them feel.
Hulk told me years ago, brother, if you're not close with Brooke and Nick, I ain't gonna like you. My kids are everything, and they're like younger brothers and sisters. I mean, after Roy Jones Jr.'s fight against Mike Tyson, he's been our guy for 17 years. I shot him a text, "Hey, champ, I bet you can't wait to get back to Pensacola and do some fishing." And
he was incredible, though.
Yeah, bro,
he was that fight was incredible.
That's personal. I'm not sitting here saying the world loved the fight. It was entertaining. We're going to crush it on business. No, it was a personal. The other stuff is easy, but he got a kick out of that one.
Yeah, I bet that was an incredible fight to see him and Tyson back in the ring there.
I think also too, it was incredible to see the humbleness on both sides.
Yep.
How humble both of them were being.
Yeah. But he can still throw some hands, Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah.
He's still got it.
In that fifth round, he had a little flash of greatness with that speed, that hand speed, and back Mike up.
And you could see even after when they were being interviewed, he still had that fire, that competitiveness. He's like, I don't want no damn draw. I don't do draws. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Tyson's over there like, hey man, I'm gonna go back to Tyson Ranch and smoke some weed. Good.
Mike's a great guy too, man. He's made some amazing changes in his life. It's incredible to see.
Sure has.
When Dennis was on his podcast, he put me on with him and said, word for word, that some of the best people he ever met in his life were in AA.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's truly amazing. Well, I definitely would love to dive in a little bit on something that you mentioned. I know it got mentioned like twice or three times about, money not being everything. But also, too, yes, I know you mentioned at the beginning, money can get you somewhat a short-term happiness or can get you to a certain level, but it's not the end-all, be-all. Where do you find the balance of understanding when is money good, when it's needed, how to go about it, but not letting it consume you to the point where it drowns you as well?
I think if your motive is right with money, that's the key. If it's not about me and I and what I could do if I get this done, and what can I do if this door opens, or I think even when I was out there using, was I that way? If I was that way at certain points, it's because my own underlying insecurities. I wanted to see what Darren Prince made it, bought a $150 sports car at 20, bought a big townhouse, had all the Rolexes and stuff. This is me. There's not a piece of jewelry. I'm in sweatpants most of the day. My girls come here, beautiful three-bedroom penthouse. We work at it. Steve, Frank back in New Jersey. My other guy, Nick, is from Beverly Hills. And, they kind of know me. It's like when something big goes down, when there's a big opportunity or a big deal, my brain immediately goes to, okay, I know I want to help this person, that person. This mindset is about us when it comes to success and money. I think God truly blesses you all that way so you can be a blessing to others. It's nobody wants to be around people that constantly looks out for themselves. I believe that it's a blessing when you have that ability of abundance when it comes to wealth. There's only so much you could take. Like I could go buy a crazy expensive sports car tomorrow if I wanted. It doesn't mean anything. I could buy another $50,000 Rolex. Not me anymore. I look at the people in my world and outside my circle and emails and random social media posts about charities and initiatives. And my thought process is immediately, what can I do to help that one, this one within reason? Because that's what brings me.
Well, I can definitely say that, just, based on your answer, obviously, comparing to what you said before, the sports cars and the Rolexes to where everything you have going on now, that huge transformation and being on both sides of, having the flash to like, hey, I don't need the flash, and getting to see the benefit of that. But at the same time, still consume the enjoyment of what you're doing with your clients and still being able to use money in a positive way. I think it's amazing you sharing that information, because I know a lot of people are going to be able to consume that, the right way and correctly. And look, don't get me wrong. Who doesn't love money? But at the end of the day, like you said, it's how you use it and how you go about it. And if you don't abuse it and you don't use it the wrong way, that's when you're going to be able to see the fruitfulness out of it and not let it hurt you in the long run. When it comes to, the way that you are managing your team now during the COVID crisis and everything that we're going through, what was the difference? Because I know you mentioned your team a few times, and I can tell you really care about your team. What was the difference between the way you were handling things back then to the way you're handling things now? What are things that have changed? And also, what are some of the main core values that you've kept holding through since the beginning?
I mean, back then there was definitely mood swings and instability. Just ways I dealt with it. I would just lock myself in my room with, a bunch of Red Bulls and, pills and, Tussinex cough syrup, anxiety meds, whatever it could have been. Garbage. And now, for everybody to see, I live for the pressure. I live for those adverse moments. That's what makes me me. And I've had so many interviewers and even celebrity clients that I've never seen somebody have an emotional foundation to deal with some of this stuff. Like, bring it, because, I don't learn anything good about myself when life is great. I learn that when I grow, I got to be right in the thick of things. I got to be right in the middle of that barrel, grinding it out. And I welcome it. And that's a huge difference, because all I did 12 plus years ago was numb out when those moments happened. I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I truly believe that it's important that you really go seek out those challenges yourself, right? Like take initiative and try to go find some challenge in your life, because if not, and things do get either, complacent, or even if things are good, you lose sight of what it really takes, or you can lose sight of what it really takes to push through those hard times, right?
Yeah.
If it gets too good for too long, then you just expect that this is how it's going to be. Or if it's miserable, right, you just expect that that's what it is. But the act of actually, putting your intention into something that is difficult to achieve for you, right, in my opinion, always brings you out a better person on the other side, right? I've never been in a situation, I know Mendez can attest to this, right? Where like I've struggled through something, but forced myself to do it. And then I looked back at who I was before and I'm like, oh, I was a better person then, never, right? Trial through fire, right? It's so important. And I'm really glad that you brought that up.
No, it's so true. I mean, I think, again, going back to that mindset, really, you have to, like Joel Osteen says, life isn't happening, to you, it's happening for you. Mm-hmm. And people need to remember that instead of, oh my God, man, I can't believe this. Why me? Just my luck. Those are all negative thought process, negative behavioral patterns. It's going to keep you in that negative space energetically. So you can take that deep breath and, again, you don't need to be in recovery or dealing with substance abuse. Everyday people, if they're listening, it's that simple. Take that deep breath and be like, okay, how can I get through this? What blessing's going to come out of the other side? If you're religious, great. If you're spiritual, throw a little Hail Mary prayer out there. And for some reason, stuff always works out. And if we make a list of 100 things that we're going to stress out about over the next 6 months, 99 of them aren't going to happen that way. And the one that might go a little bit sideways usually turns out to be the best blessing that's ever happened to you.
100%.
People just don't get that, but you gotta have that patience, perseverance, time to go through the motions. And when you come out on the other side, you'll see it.
Right. I wanna ask you a question. So, I know we talked a little bit off camera about Syracuse, and they had a pretty decent sports management program. And I always had my former colleagues in school. I could always remember them saying like, oh, I want to get and become a sports agent. I want to work with athletes. I want to do this, but it's hard. What are some pieces of advice that you could give people, some of our listeners who might be listening that are interested in getting into the sports management side of things, but maybe don't know where to start or where to look? What's some pieces of advice that you might be able to lend to them?
Now, the question comes up all the time. I get emails, DMs on Instagram, people asking for mentorship. My way was extremely unorthodox because most people do go to law school or
sounds like my life.
Get an entry level position with an agency and grow from there. So I wouldn't suggest my way because it's more like 1 in a billion. Very few people, if any, came from the collectibles industry in the baseball card world to
signing Magic Johnson.
But the one thing I do know is, I know the way athletes and celebrities like to be treated. And it's not about kissing their ass. It's being honest with them. It's being honest as much as you possibly can. If you screw up, own it, and you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. But for somebody truly trying to get into it, I know the agencies, most of the big ones are off right now because of COVID, but at that entry level position, put your ego aside and just grow. I think there's been a lot of opportunities for people in the sports and entertainment marketing where once this pandemic is up, because, a lot of agencies that are left started their own practices. I think a lot of mid-level people are no longer there. And it's going to be first come, first serve. And, if it's something you want to go for it, it's definitely the best way to do it. Yeah. With an agency that already does what you want to do.
Yeah, it blows my mind too, because I hear that a lot when you tell people like, well, listen, you might have to intern for a little bit, bud, or you might, you might have to take that entry level position and
exactly.
curb your ego, and they're like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, I used to work in collegiate strength and conditioning myself when I was in undergrad and grad school, and one of the big things I always kind of fall back on and that I'm proud of is like, I interned for 6 years for free. I didn't take not one penny, waking up at 4:30 a.m., being in the gym by 5. I wasn't leaving until, all the athletes left at whatever time, 10, 11 p.m. And they're like, that's crazy. I can't believe you did that. It's like, well, my goal at the time was to be a collegiate strength and conditioning coach. The only way for me to do that was to get a GA spot. And I was only going to get a GA spot if I busted my ass in this weight room, and he wasn't going to pay me for it.
Yeah.
So if that was the only option I had and that was my goal, I wasn't going to let anything get in my way, no matter if it was, not making a penny and eating peanut butter sandwiches and buy one, get one free meatballs from Publix for a couple of years. You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And I just wish more people would embrace the suck that comes with all of the glory that might come later.
Yep. And then also too, during that time, you have to put your ego aside and eat the shit for a while. You got to put yourself around the right people. And I'm saying that because I know for myself, like, you know, and that's why when you said unorthodox, like I use that all the time. I'm like,
he's one of the most unorthodox people I've ever
like
met.
people just like, I don't even know how that, like, how do you live? How do you do? And it's just like, that's how I operate, you know? And it's just like my whole life I've operated like that. And it's funny because if I didn't operate like that, I don't know what other way I would operate. And it's just who I am. It's in my DNA. And one of the biggest things I tell people is when I've gone through all the shit that I've eaten and gone through the nitty gritty, I always align myself with the right people and I talk to everybody. And I network. I make sure that I'm hanging around with the right people. And I'm not scared to ask either, you know, and I tell people all the time that, you know, you have to put yourself out there, do the stuff you're supposed to do, eat the shit, you know, and then put yourself with those right people, ask questions, ask away, and just be around the group of individuals that you want to become one day.
Yep, exactly. You have to, if you're the smartest person in any room, you got to find another room.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
No, I hate being in those rooms where I'm the smartest, you know? That's why I don't go around my family that often. Okay.
So Darren, what's the next big step for you with everything that you got going on, whether it's for yourself or for your business or both?
You know, for myself is just, you know, plan on holding on to this seed one day at a time. You know, I just, it gives me, you know, happiness to just be out there. This message, you know, every week, every other day, whatever it is I got to do, from interviews, speaking engagements, because I know so many people need it. You know I found through my pain my purpose in life, and I found my soul on this journey. Mm-hmm. And I always thought it was about the so-called super agent life. And it makes me uncomfortable even hearing that word because, you know, ego, that was crushed on July 2nd, 2000. I know nobody's work for special people. And, you know, the business is doing tremendously. I've signed Oscar De La Hoya as a client a couple months ago.
Congrats.
Years since I moved out here. Denise Richards, Charlie Sheen, Carmen Electra, Holly Saunders last week, about a few weeks ago. She has a bunch of great branding deals that are going. I mean, it just happens. And I think it's energy that I put out into the universe.
It's beautiful.
Because back to that, I know when I'm being blessed, the first thing I'm going to be doing is blessing other people. But monetarily, spiritually, recovery, I've got great relationships with a treatment center who's near and dear to me. It's got 14 properties. I've got my own foundation, Aiming High Foundation, a 501c3. We use all the proceeds to get people help for substance abuse. And
amazing. What's the foundation called?
Aiming High Foundation.
Aiming High Foundation.
If there's any way that we can help and support it and promote, we'd be more than happy to support it as well.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, and then I've got this other platform, which are for more VIPs, which is Elite Home Detox. And they can detox in our home for over a course of 7 days with real doctors and nurses, and then get you the psychotherapy that you need and advise on where to go for some support. Things never would have happened in my life if I didn't get sober.
Yeah.
And it gives me an arsenal now of having so many different ways to help that they need if they can't afford it. Scholarships, and that's the best thing in the world. Come on, in so many eyes.
Yeah, wow, it's been amazing. I mean, I know that we're getting close to an hour, and I know Mena's going to have some rapid fire questions. I just wanted to say thank you, Darren. It's amazing to hear stories from people who go through, you know, very traumatic experiences in their life, right? Like probably what you went through going and getting sober and everything that happened before had to have taken, you know, a lot of guts, a lot of internal thinking, a lot of support around you from your friends and family and loved ones. And to be able to see how you made such a big turnaround, right? And the mindset that you have behind blessing other people, right? And making sure other people are taken care of so that you, in fact, can be taken care of, but also working that back the other way, right? Taking care of yourself so you can take care of other people. And to see the success and to see the you know, impact that you've had in your client's life and in the lives of the people that I know that you're working with in your charity, it's been tremendous. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I really do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
How can people find you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
So Instagram is @agent_DP. Darren Prince from Los Angeles on Facebook. Any sort of business is princemarketinggroup.com. It's official DarrenPrince.com. That's, my mission. Talks a little bit about the business. Important to me. So if anybody needs help, anybody wants free hard copies of the book, I send them out all the time. The publisher sends them out. All they have to do is message me on the website or the Instagram. Send us our address, your email. We'll send out hardcover books of Aiming High to anybody that wants them.
Great. I'm about to get mine right after this.
We're definitely going to hop off, get ours, and hit you up. So, guys, you heard it. Free copy. You can't get better than that. So Darren, once again, before I hit you with the lightning round, I want to say thank you so much. It's incredible to hear your story, what you've done, the types of clientele you work with, the way you formed a family with them, the way you are with your team, the way that you've discovered yourself and really have the best of both sides now of, understanding how to be happy with the wealth, but also understanding how to be happy after being sober and understanding that the wealth isn't everything. And there's more to life than what it is. So really appreciate you on that.
No, this is good. My girls, Mathilda and Joy, are out this week because of the shutdown, so I miss them. So this is a perfect way to distract me.
There you go.
Right on with you two guys.
Yeah, awesome.
Sounds good to hear.
Glad we could fill in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So time to hit you with some questions. Question number 1. What is your thoughts and what are some of the things that you like from the sports agency side that Gary Vee and his brother are working on?
That what we're working on?
That Gary Vee and his brother are doing.
For a couple more times.
Sorry. So on the sports agency side, I know that Gary Vee and his brother opened up a sports agency not too long ago. What are your thoughts on that and some of the things that they're doing?
I mean, I think it's great. He didn't just do that. His agency booked Ric Flair for us last year in his Sombre Super Bowl commercial. So he's really in the middle of it. It's not just representing talent; it's representing the brand. And Gary's a powerhouse. He has an incredible message right now. And I tell people all the time, for me, when it comes to recovery and just that right mindset, make sure you follow Gary Vee. Say, wake up every morning on your Instagram page, just get his messages. And there's a handful of others like Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, Tony Robbins, the whole team. But Gary's right in the middle of it, man. We were together at the national convention last year in Chicago. He's a huge wrestling guy, and I had him meet Hulk and talking about Macho Man with Hulk, and I took
sick
to Gary's office a few years ago for
it's amazing
special, and it's just this little ball of energy that comes up like this giant, and he's going to keep crushing it in anything he does. So. I'm sure before you know it, Banner Sports Group is going to be a major powerhouse.
Well, hopefully, if he buys the Jets, he can just sign, a bunch of your a bunch of your clients. It'll be a win-win.
There you go.
It. His lifelong dream.
Yeah.
Question number 2: what's the craziest and wildest experience you ever had in your career?
Other than seeing Dennis Rodman in a dress.
I talk about in the intro of my book, orchestrating. Being half of it because Harlan, Muhammad's rep, wasn't in town, but he assisted tremendously with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier to meet dinner the night before the NBA game in Philadelphia. And not being able to be present in that moment because I was snorting Oxycontins and Percocets to my hotel an hour before either one of these things knew that love and respect me more than ever respected myself. And here I am, you would have thought on top of the World Center Court with him at the All-Star game the next day. And be present. I couldn't be there in the moment.
Wow.
So I just didn't feel worthy of it. And fast forward 2011, 2016, first for Joe Frazier's funeral, I supported Muhammad and his wife Lonnie to Joe's funeral. And Muhammad passed in 2016. I went there and I looked back and I was like, you know what? Don't be so hard on yourself about what happened in 2002 because you showed up when these two, iconic figures away, and that gave me closure.
Truly amazing. Truly amazing. Last and final question. What's the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to all our listeners today in one sentence?
I think my line that people love every time I say when I speak, that when you become spiritual, got to remember, say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. And your life will change forever.
Wow, that's
Absolutely.
incredible. I love that.
People.
Yeah.
You can add 2 more people to that list that love that. So
100%.
that's
You know,
great.
there's always an ooh and odd audience. I have neon lights with that above my bed. So I remember it every night before I go to bed, because when you keep this shut and you listen more and you're able to control your emotions, life just becomes so much better.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, man. This has been an awesome experience. Really great chatting with you. We definitely would love to stay connected and support you in every way possible. And when you're down here in Miami, we'll definitely love to have you in here live.
Awesome.
Yeah,
thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Hope you have a great week.
You, Darren.
And send your address. We'll send you some bucks.
Awesome.
Sounds
we'll love
great.
that. Yeah. Everyone, make sure you guys, everyone listen.
Yep.
Make sure you guys
whoever wants them.
We got
awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Until next time, guys.